particularly the structure. I would like to also stress, if you will, let it be a question. Is it not possible also, because any president that wants to come into power must also have a cardinal program? Such is the way people view this issue of restructuring. Is it implausible for a particular person, say the president or the candidate of the BDP is presently professing, to also take that as part of his cardinal programs as a president? I'd like to know if he's doing the wrong thing by saying that that is one of his cardinal programs. Thank you.
My name is Dimiji. Unfortunately, the prof is to answer my question, but it's not here now. I wouldn't know whether it's a law. The question is, while he was delivering his paper, he talked about false fake news in the world that was about 100 years ago. However, my question is this: I just want him to tell us where exactly the false fake news emanated from. That's the question.
He did it.
My question is, we have a country now where everybody have lost hope completely. The adults that maybe have money, they are finding a way to maybe emigrate to Canada or any other country that will accept them. And the youth that should also be the determinant of the future in terms of interest. Maybe if you look at the population of the youth, far more than the elderly ones. It seems to also have lost complete interest there in what is going on in the country. Talking about the election that is coming, I'm not sure the youth are really mobilizing themselves because they are not interested. They are so it's as if they've disenfranchised themselves. So in a forum like this, what professors, what can you say specifically that should be done to actually address this, to actually get the youth to be aware or to be involved of their role, their responsibility to their own future? Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to begin with the last question and also tie with the first one. Education is a process that takes time. Any group of people in a haste to make progress, there's no patience for education as a process that takes time. We go the wrong way. If I go to the Vice Chancellor, I say, Vice Chancellor, I got admission yesterday. I want my certificate. After I prayed, and I believe God, I have faith, give me my certificate. They will think I'm crazy. Nigerians want the fruits, but they have patience to plant, water, and make the plant grow. What we refuse to do, we manifest tomorrow. I think it's only a few months ago that the federal government said that they were bringing back the teaching of history right in school. I am a math professor, but I was taught history, I was taught geography, taught sociology, I went through all of this. All of these together have made me who I am. What happened that at the point we abandoned that, then we started specializing so early in high school. Say art student, science student, social science student, to a point where so we go through school, high school, graduate, and will not be taught history even for one day. Not even know about their geography, not know about their people. And then now it's okay, let's go back and the university introduce Nigerian people and their culture and the production, all of that. We don't seem to understand that we are only harvesting the fruits of the bad trees we planted some years ago. Now, what you can do, even if government will not do what we are proposing here, you can do it. I have to challenge each publisher sitting here today that effective immediately undertake to have a column that talks about citizen responsibility, or the office of Nigerian citizen. With respect to what the Constitution says, know your Constitution. Know your Constitution. And you can organize online quizzes for our youth. So, okay, this month there is a quiz. If you get this, this is the incentive. You can think about that. Make sure your research and development department can come up with what to you is the best kind of incentive, so that these people will be challenged to know about their own country and then gradually become responsible leaders. I did an article some months ago titled, "Can I Trust Your Electoral Choice?" Some of you published that. Some graduates said that I challenged them to read their constitution. They never knew what was inside. How can you be a graduate and don't know? You don't have a copy of it. And you say you are a citizen. What guides your citizenship? How do you act in that office? So that's what you can do. For the government, well, sorry, the NOA is dead. National Agency is dead. They could be having NOA core across universities and colleges, discussing the issues such as we are discussing here today. But it's there. So let us look at what we can do here. And then by so maybe, just maybe, we can provoke the nation towards building citizens that will become leaders. And they will start complaining about failure of leadership because we have planted the good tree of citizenship and watered to maturity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just two things very quickly. Let me start with this point about history. I actually do think we can make a contribution. Increasingly, we are giving birth to children without a sense of who they are or where they come from. You know, this morning, about 4 a.m., I sent out a 175-character tweet, which said that on this day, in 1982, in Delegiwa, editor-in-chief of This Day magazine, sorry, in 1986, editor-in-chief of Newswatch magazine, was killed by a letter bomb in Ikeja, near Lagos. And you will not believe the feedback I got. Nearly every person who was under 35 worried about Ikeja, near Lagos. And why are they worrying? Because of history, because of the failure of history. Because Isaleko is Lagos. Ikeja is in Lagos State. But Ikeja is not Lagos. And the history of Ikeja actually is very rich. But we no longer worry or bother about it. There is one other suggestion I'll ally to the one that Professor Shilba has made. Can those of you who can have a section or menu on passages? The easiest way to learn history is through obituaries. Most people who read The Economist start from the back because the last page of the obituary is of The Economist is obituaries. And the skill of writing an obituary is the most phenomenal in journalism. And you pack so much in it, and really, besides our chairman, the co-chairman here is a master in that art. I've not met you too many times, but I have read you religiously. And it is such a skill, and you teach so much from just telling the trajectory of a life that has impacted society. And I really suggest, if we can, for as many online publishers here as possible to consider it. If you wrote the story of Delegiwa today, what you will teach so much in less than 1,000 words, what you will teach will be unimaginable. The question about hate speech and free speech is actually an interesting one. And yes, you're right. In Nigeria we have a lot of light-hearted banter about origin. And yes, and some of that harks back to, again, histories of societies, the Tiv and the Fulani and the Kanuri and all of that. That's true. But that is just, the light-hearted banter is different from hate speech. Because most people who participate in that or partake in it have the context to trade it. Now, it's the same thing, Inyamiri and Awajokuta and all of that. Yes? Yes? Now, at a level, that actually is banter. Okay? Now, it's a different thing when you get into snake and cockroach. That is different. And the legal context actually is also different between the American side and the South Atlantic side. On the North Atlantic, they've got the First Amendment. Now, the First Amendment begins, the state shall make no law. It is very imperative. And the jurisprudence of the First Amendment has been very literalist. So there are very few exceptions to state shall make no law. When you compare that with our section 39 here and section 45, which have their origins in Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights, there are very firm clawbacks and exceptions to the right to freedom of expression. And part of that is that the state can make law that is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society for the purpose of public security, public order, and the law. Now, so while there is an imperative prohibition under the First Amendment in the United States, there is actually the contemplation of authorization of exception here. The question is, what is the scope of the exception? You don't want a situation in which a public broadcast station is used to make any set of Nigerians feel that they are haunted. And that requires a judgment call. It also requires a sense of responsibility. It requires leaders who see a country and not just parts of it. It requires people in positions of responsibility who know when to say stop. But it also, I totally agree with you when you talk about trusting government. And this really is the crisis we've got. Most Nigerians would not trust people in government today to make that decision because we don't believe they will be able to do it in the best interests of society. I think Simon Kolawole wrote about this about 2 months ago. And unfortunately, I think I agree with him. That does not mean that we should not make the effort to call out hate speech. When I was the chair of the National Human Rights Commission, in the run-up to the 2015 elections, I went around to basically every major office, from National Security Advisor to Secretary to the Government of the Federation to Attorney General. Nobody wanted to take responsibility for electoral violence or hate speech. And it was clear, looking at the intel available, that people knew where the killing was going to happen. People knew where the supply lines for the psychotropic substances were coming from. They knew where the delivery posts were. Nobody wanted to do anything about it. So I decided, I called the staff of the commission together and told them, you know what, we will take responsibility. All of you, grow up. Read up about it, but we are going to work on election violence, and we are going to make sure, what is our target? That we do not have as many people killed in 2015 as were killed in 2011. That was our target. We are going to have to reduce it. And how are we going to do it? That we are going to engage in what the soldiers call psychological operations. Make politicians believe that if they did this, we will come after them, or somebody will come after them. So I flew from here to go and meet the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. And I told her, I need your help. This is the situation we've got. I needed to make a statement that you will help us come after Nigerian politicians. That was how she made that statement. So I got that one in my pocket. So it then became a question of, I went to 23 states, meeting with governors in every state to tell them this is going to happen. We met with every major political party. We met with everybody we could meet, security agencies, the lot. By the time we were done, the issue of political violence had gone up in visibility. The politicians started doing what? They started bringing complaints to us about threats of political violence. In a very modest way, we changed the dialogue on political violence. By the time we were done, we recorded about 257 deaths. That was well below where we were in 2011. For me, that was too much. But you know what? That was progress. I would like to see institutions in 2018, 2019 say we will not get as high as we did in 2015. That is the way society makes progress. That you continue it in increments. And that people have to, and we took on the digital media. And so we recruited influencers, all of them, from Linda to Jafet to Mojuwa to Anthony Oji. Anybody, I got on Twitter, anybody who had over 10,000 followers, we marked, and we got in touch with them. And the idea was, can you help us track these? We call them to meetings. Can you help us track these? And if you have, these are what you could look for. And if you see this kind of thing, hashtag it no hate speech NG. And so the hashtag no hate speech NG started trending. And all it meant was doing what? Using peer pressure in the digital space and calling out people who were saying things that they should not say. And part of it was, if you noticed that kind of thing, munch it, preserve it, and transmit it to us. We had a backroom team that was working on that. And it is possible to create mechanisms of incentive and disincentives using limited facilities to be able to make sure that we are able to track these kinds of things. And the threat was always there, because we did meet with the Deputy Inspector General of Police then, and he was very happy to work with us. And they set up a digital lab precisely because they were under pressure from us to do so. So, what am I saying? There are ways and means to do it, and it is not very expensive, and Nigerians can make it happen, because in 2015 we did it, in 2019 we can do much better. Thank you.
This Sunday, and many times sold about 850, thereabout, 70,000 in the days of Ebola. So you are doing good. But I want you to do more, because Nigeria has lost its voice. No nuns, no labor union, no nothing. No opposition. It's only you that will fill that void. And so you come at a very crucial and critical time in our history. And you are lucky to also have come at the time of Instagram, at the time of WhatsApp, which is helping you a lot. But I want to challenge you that you need to do more of education, training your members, training your reporters, and training yourselves. And also try to create a column, leader writing. You must, each of you should have editorial, not just reporting news. I think you should always take a stand. Let your publication take a stand. Editorials matter. Try and see if you can write an editorial every day. I know it's not easy, but it's also important to have knowledge, to have education. I will refer you, I want you to Google the politics of language. Politics of language. It was a lecture I gave at Edmonton, Canada, 2001. You know, and it's been translated into many languages. When you hear words like hard currency, there's no currency that is made of wood or made of metal. But it's a way of putting you down. They say one currency is hard currency and your own currency is now tissue. I remember that day in Edmonton, I pointed at the blackboard and I asked all the people, 90% pink skinned people, and I said, this blackboard, and look at my own skin. Is this color like that? And I said, look at the white chalk. Is anybody here whose color is this? And Americans, especially the black communication, continue to say people of color. Every human being has color. Every skin has color. So you can't say anybody is people of color. And unfortunately and regrettably, the people of chocolate color still refer to themselves as people of color. Every human being has skin has color. Then the word tribe, you can look at it. Some new dictionaries are trying to make it sound sweet. But the original definition of tribes in ancient Rome is very pejorative. Tribes are pre-literate people. So I met a Hungarian and he asked me, by the way, which tribe do you belong to in Nigeria? I said, Hungary. I said, I'm Hungarian. He said, we don't have tribe in Hungary. I said, Hungary is only 5 million people. I'm Yoruba. Yorubas are more than 50 million. How can you, less than 5 million, don't call yourself tribe and you're calling me a race of over 50 million people a tribe? Have you ever heard of Welsh tribe or Irish tribe or Scottish tribe? Of course not. We don't have tribes in Nigeria. You have tribe of lawyers, you have tribe of doctors, just a clan. But we don't have tribe in Nigeria. There are no tribes in Nigeria. The Igbos are not a tribe. Igbos are more than 50 million people. We can't call them a tribe. There's no tribe in Nigeria. But all of us still continue to use that word. So Google the politics of language, because language is very powerful. In the beginning, there's the word Abi, and the word is what? Word is very powerful. But that even that position, in the beginning there was word. You also say it is Genesis. But in the beginning there's the word. It's written by the Nubians at the foot of the pyramid in Sudan. It's still there today. Written 5,000 BC. Exactly as it is quoted in the Bible. It's written there by the Nubians when they were in charge of Sudan on the pyramid, foot of the pyramid. We cannot free ourselves if we are not knowledgeable. Knowledge is very, very important. And every journalist, every writer, every communicator must have knowledge. be above average. Because to lead, you must be more knowledgeable than people you are leading. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my observation. Thank you.
Quickly, we are going to move to these messages, and the first one that we will get to, thank you very much, sir. The first one we will be getting today will be coming from the Chief of Defense Staff, and for that I will be inviting Leader General John.
No problem, exception that the country has a problem, and they have to use their military to solve those problems. Why did I say so? We had a problem in Bakassi, and at the time the political master said that we should leave that place, we left, even though we lost some of our colleagues. I have to say this because even when we present narratives that we expect people like the corporate online publishers to investigate and go into it and talk about it. They leave it for us to continue to talk about. There is politics in our security problems. Serious politics. The problem we are having, if you see every country that comes into to help in a fight against insurgents, they will tell us that they will give us intelligence. And that word is very fluid. Intelligence has to do with time. So if you give intelligence that there was a conference here, you give that intelligence tomorrow, it has no security value. If you give the intelligence that we are going to gather here today, then it can be used for operation. So every country will come and say they want to give us intelligence, and there's no intelligence that are given us in real time. I want to let us know that most times we leave some important things for the military to talk about. I felt very disappointed when the military felt disappointed when people complain about, I was happy when Gocop was talking about the military. When people are complaining about the human rights violation that the military is involved in, ask them what should be the consequence. The consequence is that country should not have one force. Then where does it go? And we talk about some non-governmental organization being in the Northeast, and they are paying rent of 10-15 years in advance. Nobody talk about it after that announcement. And we cannot do more than that. We only say this is what is happening. And it is the responsibility of all of you here who will continue to dig into those issues. So for us, we'll continue to do our best, but the security of this country is in the hands of everybody, especially you, who will prick the conscience of people to begin to think in a certain direction. I want to thank you very much for inviting the Chief of Defense Staff, and we hold you in a very high esteem, and we are ready to open up for you to understand your military and understand the kind of challenges we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next good message comes from the Nigerian Communications Commission, and to deliver that will be Ibrahim Shadam, head of the Nigerian Communications Commission. Good afternoon, everybody. All protocols duly observed. I'm presenting the good message on behalf of the Executive Vice Chairman, Professor Umar Dambata of the Nigerian Communications Commission, to this very special event. Professor Dambata would have loved to be here, but he is currently engaged in another assignment and has sent his goodwill message. The message reads as follows. I'm going to say it exactly the way he has sent it. We recognize the presence of the chairman of the event, His Excellency Chief Sheikh Shoba, former governor of Ogun State, ably represented, the president of the event, Dr. Oladipo, the organizers of this event, members of different media houses present, and all other relevant stakeholders from various public and private entities. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and honor to be here with you at the second annual conference of Gocop as I present this goodwill message. The Guild of Corporate Online Publishers, as a responsible body, has organized this conference with the collaboration of the NCC and other relevant stakeholders to discuss the topical issue, online publishers' role towards a sustainable economic, credible election, and security in Nigeria. I call upon the various bodies present here, such as the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, Nigerian Guild of Editors, Nigerian Union of Journalists, and all other relevant stakeholders and agencies, both government and private, as well as media groups present, to please take due advantage of this conference and promote ethical use of social media and online journalism and publications. We wish you a very wonderful conference. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. At this stage, I'm not sure we have any more good message to deliver. If that be the case, I'll call on the Vice President of Gocop and the Chairman of the Organizing Committee, Maureen Chibu, to give us a vote of thanks.
Thank you. Permit me to stand on existing protocol. I don't know where to start. It's been a wonderful day, and all our resource persons have been wonderful, and they've enriched our knowledge here. And to say just thank you is nothing to I don't know how to say it, to justify or even to say thank you is nothing to talk about what they have just done to us this afternoon. And I have to start with Professor Dinkalo. When I met him in May, and I told him that we were going to organize this conference and he's going to please be our guest speaker. He told me to send an email, and I've been on him since then, and his promise he was going to come. But I know he has a very tight schedule, and I kept at it, kept reminding him, and today he came. And just day before yesterday, he told me to send him again the theme of the conference, and I said, and he said, "Walai Kalai." Well, that was the WhatsApp message you sent. I said, I know you are going to do justice to it, and I look forward to listening to you. And today, the resounding applause the audience gave me proved that what I said is true. So, Prof, I thank you so much for honoring our invitation. So it's a pleasure, great pleasure having you here. I have to thank His Excellency, Chief Oshoba, Ogun State, former Ogun State Governor. We got in touch with him, we emailed him, we telephoned him, and he promises he was going to come. And as of yesterday, we were trying frantically to reach him, and we couldn't, and we were wondering what happened. But then a landlord called me and told me, Oga, say, but he didn't say clearly who the Oga is. And I was just wondering, how could this have happened? All of us were saying, but he emailed us, what happened? And today I saw Larry, and he told me that Oga told him, and he was now specific and said that it was His Excellency Oshoba who sent him to represent him. And I said, oh, it wasn't clear to me. So I'm very grateful that he was unable to make it, but he sent a worthy representative and the person of Mr. Lanre Dowu. And you all know Lanre Dowu, he is famous for the state. So thank you very much, sir, for being a worthy representative of His Excellency. Thank you. And then we co-opted Chief Tola Adeni just this morning as he was coming, because we weren't very sure again whether we were going to have a shower. And he really agreed that he was going to come to, he was going to be the co-chairman. Sir, thank you so much for coming. We are very grateful. I have to thank Professor Akin Feleye. I also reached out to Professor Akin Feleye in May, and I kept at it, and then he was telling me he was traveling all over, and I kept sending email to him, and yesterday he replied and said yes, he was going to come, and then he also told me when immediately he came here, he came very early, and said that he will be leaving because he has another lecture he was going to give, and he was traveling, and he would like to leave by 12, and he stayed beyond 12. I want to thank him for honoring our invitation and for giving a very interesting lecture. Being a very good worthy discusser. Professor Silva is not left out in my thanks, because we also approached him earlier enough and he agreed. And we kept at it. And in his own case, we have had, at a point in time, it appears we are not communicating again, and we are very worried. But at the nick of time, everything gelled, and he's here with us, and you are and I have to thank your wonderful audience. You all came and did us honor. When we started, we were wondering if this hall is going to be filled up, but look at, there is, I think, just a few seats left. We thank you very much for coming, and we thank the Chief of Defense Staff for honoring our invitation, and the Chief of Naval Staff for honoring our invitation. Thank you. Please take a message back to them that we will always support your cause and make sure that you are well reported, so as you will not risk your life in vain for protecting us Nigerians. May I also thank the LOC. They worked for months, holding meetings, their jobs or their offices were left unmanned, and they kept at it, and then everything just gelled together today. And I have to say that this is just the rounding up of our conference, because we started yesterday. We had our business meeting yesterday. We have some resource people, and today we are rounding it up with a conference. It's actually a 2-day event. And I can see Uncle Ted where here. Is he not him? I just saw him. So I have to thank you for coming. And then the former Commissioner of Anambra State, Tony Onima, thank you for coming. And Teva Adesina, former editor of The Guardian, was also here early. And there are so many important people in the audience. I cannot mention all your names. And I thank you all for coming. God bless you as we pass to our burial destination.
Very much to friend and new people. It's a real but let me add, after the prayer, we have food, we have enough. It's that kind of experience of what Jesus when you multiply, we have plenty. But the way we are going to go is this. we will require for those on the item to go first. Then the usher will lead those of us on this side of the item. They will lead us table by table to where the food is served. But members of the item will go first. That is after the prayer. Bring room. Please, the room will stand. Oh Lord, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this successful conference. We give you all the glory. Thank you for perfecting everything that concerns us. We pray that the outcome of various discussions of this conference will contribute to the growth of our nation. We also pray that the outcome of this conference will contribute immensely to the various political platforms. And for all of us who are here, as we depart to our real destination, we pray you grant us journey messages back home. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for coming.